And then let's move to what might be the most exciting game of the season so far. And that was the Buffalo Bills beating the Detroit Lions in Detroit 48-42. I was watching the Steelers game avidly and obviously had this on in the background, it felt like every time I looked at it, something crazy was happening. This was a nuts game. Over 1,000 yards of total offense. Over 300 yards, 350 yards of passing on each team. I mean, Detroit they couldn't run it. They had 48 yards of rushing, and Buffalo's 197. There was turnovers. There was craziness. It was 5 touchdowns by Goff. I mean, 193 yards on Ross St. Brown, who I said it last night over text, but I'm going to say now my favorite receiver in the NFL. There is better receivers. I agree. My favorite one, absolutely fantastic player, career day for him. I mean, we sort of thought this would be a barnstormer when they meet, but this might be seen as in a few years as that Chiefs-Rams game where it was meant to be Mexico and then it was in LA. No, yes, it was in LA. It wasn't in St. Louis then. They were already in LA because they were at the Coliseum at the old one where it was sort of falling down a little bit. I think, this game is going to be the one where people look back and think, wow, what a game.
Yeah, not a lot of defense on this game.
There wasn't a lot of defense in the other game. Well, there was a little bit, but then there wasn't all at the same time. I mean, no interception, one fumble. But
90 points, so just about hit the over. It was a pretty mental game. And the idea that Jared Goff could throw nearly 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and lose is pretty mental.
Wow.
I don't think there was any. I just kind of feel like in this game that basically defense went out the window, and it was very much a case of I'm going to outscore you. That was all it was. And the one thing I would say is I do feel like the Bills kind of made a bit of a sort of like a stamp on the game very early on. Yeah. So it kind of felt like their first drive, they made a point. And I actually felt like the Packers did this in Seattle last night. But the Bills very much, it was like, we're gonna run the ball. We're going to use Josh Allen's legs as much as we can. We will pass it as well. But they kind of went down that route, that very first run, and just went, we're not afraid of you. We're going to outscore you. And that was kind of how it felt to me, that was how it was played. And that was kind of how it played out. And as great as the Lions were, it didn't matter because the Bills were just like, we're just going to outscore you. And so that was kind of the end of it. I do feel like, I mean, Josh Allen has booked the MVP now. I think that's the end of that. As much as I thought Goff would have a really good season, and he has had a great season, he's not going to get that off of Allen now. I think he's just scoring so many touchdowns with his legs, but also passing as well. And yeah, they just look like 2 really good teams, and you can only hope that it's the Super Bowl. For any neutral, you can only hope that.
I'll let all our viewers or listeners in on a secret. If this is the Super Bowl, this will not be the scoreline.
No, I think
it will be 20 to 40 to 17. It will be like so boring and dull because we've had it so exciting in a way. Super Bowl never feels like it's that high scoring, even though we have had high scoring Super Bowls. It never feels like it's that high scoring. But no, I agree with the Josh Allen thing. Now I think Jared Goff was definitely in that route for it. But then he had that game with the 4 picks or 5 picks. And so it was like, well, we can't really give an MVP to it. Then you got Saquon Barkley, but then Saquon's not done much in the last game, which you sort of need to be great every game in a way, don't you? And Josh Allen has, but I mean, I'm sure Josh Allen has had games, but they do it without. They did it without Amari Cooper, Amari Cooper was injured, right?
Sure. Amari Cooper was. Well, no one really seems to know quite what happened because Amari Cooper was there, but he didn't have a single.
Didn't have a single target
reception. It was really strange.
Their best receiver was Ty Johnson, which is pretty. But I think both these teams know how they want to play. They know how they want to play. I mean, I think I think the biggest thing coming out of this game is David Montgomery now looking like he's done for the season. It's just come out in the last half an hour, but he's just something to his MCL, PCL, or ACL. I can't remember which one it is, but it's looking like that he might be out for the season. Which I love Jahmyr Gibbs, and obviously I say obviously, you know this, but not everyone else does. I have Jahmyr Gibbs on fantasy football, and I love him. And I just don't know whether that Thunder and Lightning combination, or Knuckles and Sonic as they call themselves, it will that hinder the team going forward? I don't know. I think that's a big thing. They are like you said already, they are getting unhealthy pretty quickly. There's a lot of guys going down for them. A lot of guys are out for the season now. I think you're one Penei Sewell away with the Lions for me to be like, that's it. I think you're done. Like it would be like that sort of thing for me now, where I'd be like, I don't see these guys doing it, because though they are a really, really great team, really exciting team, I've got some fantastic players and quite a wide selection of fantastic players. They're not totally they haven't got total depth, and the big players they have, they do heavily rely on. You know what I mean? So it's just come out actually. Sorry, Chef has just tweeted something. I think a bit more about it says out indefinitely. So and they've lost Ali McNeil as well.
Yes, he went out of the game, didn't he? Which obviously they just paid a big amount of money for him. During this season, I think it is going to be very difficult for them. Obviously, losing all of this, you do worry. Sorry
to interrupt. I didn't realize Carlton Davis also suffered a fractured jaw.
Oh, okay.
He's out indefinitely as well.
Right. Okay. So they've had a lot go here. You do have to. Is Gibbs going to be able to take the workload as well, is another concern, because obviously he's not used to doing that. I know he did it in college, but he's not used to doing it since he's been at the Lions, so that's a potential issue. And I think that obviously this game, it kind of, Goff had a great game and he did really well, and this is where I think, though, that when you start getting all of these injuries, do you have the ability to be able to lean onto the quarterback and get over the line? I think this might be where the difference comes in, when you sort of start looking at Super Bowl winning teams and stuff like that. Josh Allen, I think, has the potential to do that, and has shown many times that he's done it in these kind of games and during the season. But also, like, he's missed out because of the Chiefs, basically. But like, if he gets the chance and it's a Super Bowl, I would feel that who would you think would have more chance of being the one who puts the team on their back and makes that difference? I think Allen is probably the one more likely to do it than Goff. And if you have all of them injuries and you start really giving up a lot of points because you're losing these defensive guys, that's going to be a problem. So I think that's where it becomes an issue. Are you going to have to play? I know the Super Bowl's in a dome, so you're fine with Goff. But what happens if they lose a game in the next couple of weeks and the Eagles get the first seed? You got to go away to the Eagles. That's not going to be fun for him. This is where the problem comes in. There are a few concerns with the Lions because of things like that.
And when we look at the Bills, I mean, back-to-back weeks now, wild games with the Buffalo Bills on the losing side of 1 week, on the winning side of this week. Is you voiced your concerns 4 weeks ago, but you were saying the Ravens, they will not succeed because of their secondary. That's what will hinder them. Are we now looking at the Bills where we're like, you need to tighten up this defense? You can't outscore everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to, because they will struggle. It's the same as I said with the Ravens. If you go and you start giving up loads of points and your secondary just doesn't do anything and doesn't improve. I mean, the Bills are slightly different because it's injuries, isn't it, on the secondary rather than just poor play. So it's like, if they can get any of them guys back, then obviously that will be great for them. The Ravens is just been bad play in the secondary all season, but so that there is a potential where it's not an issue for the Bills. But Yeah, I mean, they really do need to tighten that up, because if you just keep giving away large amounts of points, eventually there will come a time that you'll go up against the defense and Josh Allen will not be able to score or rush in like 4 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns in a game. Like you can't do it every game. He will have an off day at some stage. And if that happens, and it also happens to be on the day that your secondary isn't working, well, you're done. And that's the problem. So outscoring teams is tough in order to win a Super Bowl. Like, to go through every round outscoring, putting up these sort of numbers, it's difficult. And I think I feel more confident in this team being able to do it than the Ravens, because I think that you might get some guys back. But yeah, the idea of being able to go out and score like 40 points every game is, you're going to find someone who's going to stop you.
Yeah, exactly. Right.